is on Vanguard Life. I am Precious Chukudi. And of course, I would like to ask, how are you coping with the hot weather this period? It's extremely hot. I hope you're taking care of yourself. But let's start off with the front pages of the papers this morning, and we're leading with the story on Vanguard 2023 poll. Over 600 cases in court against INEC, and that's coming from Yakubu. The writer says that you must rise above temptation. CJN warns at inauguration of election tribunal judges, says he won't condone abuse of power. On page 6, worse floods coming next year. That's coming from federal government. UK court moves Ekwerimadu's trial to January 31st. REA commits $395 million to fund 267 electrification projects. PDP crisis, why Atiku won't have my support. That's coming from ORTOM. On page 5, 2023, why Tinubu won't attend debates. That's coming from KEYAMO. NPC begs Biafra agitators not to disrupt 2023 census in Southeast. ICPC probes 712 projects in 20 states. Begin disposal of forfeited assets. Stories above. A train attack. Federal government set to resume Kaduna Abuja service. On page 6, ASU half salary payments. Gbajabi Amila sues for peace. Assures Buhari will intervene soon. Terror alert. UK drops warning against travel to Abuja. Insists risk remains. The big interview. With the right technology, Nigeria can end infertility mystery. That's coming from Wada. And lastly, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, unemployment stagnates growth in pension registration. All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with women, farmers, artisans, others unite for Tinubu. Marafa Eibo sure of victory for APC presidential candidate next year. Nobody can break our ranks. Wike Auto Makinde insists, and there's a quote that says, "To hell with Atiku and anyone supporting him. They should go and tell him anybody supporting Atiku is an enemy of Benue. My people are being killed and you want me to be quiet?" We have a Buhari ready to intervene in ASU's half-salary matter, says Gbajabi Amila. Stories above. CJN to election tribunal judges, don't be reckless. COP27, UN unveils $3 billion plan to achieve early warning system. All right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian is leading with 2023 G5 PDP governors not relenting in fight with IU Atiku. The writer says autumn to hell with Atiku and anyone supporting him. Benue Road leading to IU's house named after Wike. IU shuns PDP Benue campaign flag off. Disregard autumn's grandstanding. Benue will vote Atiku, says Chila. Wike cannot stop Atiku's victory. Rivers Group insists. Nwoko, Wike should be kicked out of PDP. PDP demands probe on the attack of Atiku supporter Rivers. Federal government announces resumption of Abuja Kaduna rail service 7 months after. Anna Foundation releases poll outcome in 5 states. Petrol may hit 250 naira per litre despite 4 trillion naira subsidy. Ipman says depot price now 190 naira per litre. And on Ekweremadu, we have court adjourns till December 16. Daughter charged with parents. You can see that on page 3. Lastly, on the front page of The Guardian, Nigeria Twitter agreement risk collapse over global restructuring. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with 2023 elections. INEC laments tough times. A flood overruns 20 INEC buildings. Chairman 6 new offices. Agency grapple with 600 cases in court. Wants new equipment. Suspense as ASU ESCO meeting runs into midnight. You can see that on page 13. Low enrollment. Migration flooding hot Ogun village schools. Last mark can't arrest motorists on roads without signs. This coming from Commissioner. We have a Bauchi governor demands Atiku apology. At COP27, Buhari seeks G7 support. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, why not is wrong about restructuring. That's coming from Ezefe. All right, so that's how we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining, still today in the news on Vanguard Live, I am Precious Chukudi. Joining me to talk about some of the stories on the front pages of our papers this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He's the publisher of Illupeju Today, Lekki Today, and Ikeja Today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Precious. Good morning to all our viewers.
All right, let's start off with this story, and it's about INEC. Now, the Professor Yakubu has, raised the alarm that the Commission is currently facing 600 cases relating to conduct of recent primaries and nominations of candidates by political parties for the election, and that this is also eating into vital times for preparation of the elections. What do you think about it?
Well, it's quite a shame, actually, because what it tells me is that many of our candidates depend on the judiciary to get them into office than actual popularity by the voters. There has come to be an inordinate reliance on the judiciary. The way democracy is structured, I mean, the judiciary is a critical part of our democratic process. But by and large, we don't want court-appointed governors and court-decided presidents and things like that. We want it to be the will of the people that dictates who emerges eventually. But contestants and aspirants have now begun to rely more on the courts than on the voting process. And essentially, the way it looks to me is most of them just don't even bother to campaign. All they do is buy nomination form and sit and wait to go and challenge anything in court. So when you see a situation where there are 600 pending cases, this is even before the elections have occurred. We're still going to have a lot of election tribunal cases, disputes about overvoting, undervoting, ballot snatching, underage voting. We're still going to have all those issues when the election proper happens. Now, the election hasn't happened. This is just about primaries and nomination of candidates, and we already have 600 disputes. To me, I think these issues should be solved within the party. For it to get to the judiciary, it means that the party itself is in chaos. I think that the elders within the party should be able to resolve these internal issues. It's a family affair. If we're organizing primaries among our members and there are disputes, we should have a dispute resolution mechanism internally that resolves all these issues and doesn't waste the court's time with these heavy case loads. Now, the Chief Justice, it was yesterday when the Chief Justice of Nigeria was swearing in the members of the various election tribunals that this issue of 600 cases came up, because the Chief Justice was charging those people to be honest, to not abuse their power, to not be corrupt, to discharge their duties without fear or favor and to the best of their conscience. And that was when this issue of, the INEC chairman in his remarks said, yes, the election tribunal committees are critical to the process, but we also want to appeal to the candidates themselves that they shouldn't abuse the process simply because you have judicial redress available to you. Meaning, if you feel you didn't get justice in the process, there's an independent body you can go and appeal to. But it seems like our politicians are just abusing this and using it as a hurdle to leapfrog over a democratic process by which the voters express their will.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. And on Sunday, there was a debate from Arise TV, and Tinubu was obviously absent. And his chief spokesman, that's Festus KEYAMO, he has said that the reason why he was absent was because he doesn't want to be seen as a selective, as seen as selective, basically, and that he has gotten requests from different TV stations and radio stations, and he wants to be seen as one who treats people and businesses fairly. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that Sunday debate, even though it was hosted by Arise and it was broadcast on Arise, but there were other agencies and organizations that collaborated with Arise. It wasn't strictly Arise. Nigeria Union of Journalists was involved.
Even Vanguard
was involved. Nigerian Guild of Editors was involved. So there were enough people or enough organizations involved where it was or could be viewed as a neutral enough platform. Because what I hear KEYAMO saying is that they don't want to be preferential. But when you look at it, no matter where you go or where you don't go, whoever organizes this thing is just one out of many possibilities. So in any case of where you go, there are other people who could have invited you that you didn't attend or that you didn't honor. So you can't say that you don't want to be preferential, because any debate that's organized is organized by somebody, and if you attend it, you are being preferential to that person. So you can't escape what you think is preferentialism. However, since enough people came together to do this, I don't think that channels or AIT or any of the other stations would have said you are biased by going to Arise and not coming to them. So I think that is playing to the gallery. I think it's really an excuse. I think these debates are an excellent opportunity for the public to take the measure of the various candidates. And I think it is incumbent upon them to attend as many as they can. I think it's an opportunity for them to sell themselves, sell their manifesto, sell their vision for Nigeria of tomorrow, and win over the undecided voters. At this point, the way it's looking from all the polling, and it's looking like the undecideds are the ones who are going to swing this election, because the two major parties have their dyed-in-the-wool supporters. They're probably almost equal in that level. Yeah, Peter Obi is drawing some, Kwankwaso is drawing some, but there's a huge pool of undecided voters. They may be the ones to swing the election in the direction of the winner. So when you see any opportunity, and I'll say this for Peter Obi, he has not shirked any debate, any opportunity to spread his gospel, he's always taken advantage of it. So whether it's a town hall meeting, a debate, whether it's a TV interview, whatever the case may be, you find Peter Obi there. And I would say that if a presidential candidate has been invited, it's not good enough to send a representative. It's you we want to hear from. We want to scrutinize the content of your character and what you have in your mind. We want to hear it. So it's not good enough that your deputy goes in your place. If we wanted the deputy, we organize debates among the deputies. So it's not okay for Okowa to have gone yesterday, on Sunday, although Atiku ostensibly is out of the country. But Okowa standing in for him can never be the same as us hearing from Atiku directly. And the same goes for Tinubu, him not going at all. I think what KEYAMO has done here are just excuses. I think the bottom line is that Bola Tinubu recognizes his limitations in public speaking. I think he recognizes that he's not the very best, despite all of his other attributes and perhaps his other strengths. Perhaps he recognizes the fact that his oratorical skills are subpar, and as a result, he shies away from wanting to display in public. Otherwise, it's becoming too many. He skipped ICANN, he skipped the NBA, he's now skipped Arise. So far, the only one he's attended has been the Arewa conference in the north, which you might say, well, he got asked questions there and he responded accordingly, but we need to see more on that kind of campaign activity.
Also, he went ahead and gave more reasons. He said his candidates are busy and hectic schedule will not grant him access to grant such invitation. And he also said that his candidate now feels that he would like to speak to Nigerians directly, not in all these kind of forums. What do you think about it?
Well, first of all, every presidential candidate's schedule is hectic. That's what campaigning is all about. They all have full calendars. I mean, they are in different cities, in different states several times a day. So having a hectic schedule is not unique to him. It's unique to everybody else. How come the others were able to make the time? If it's important enough to you, you will make the time out to go there. For him to now say that he wants to speak to Nigerians directly, what does he think an Arise platform is doing? That kind of a town hall meeting or a debate organized by Arise is so that he can speak to Nigerians directly. Perhaps he's talking about, okay, he wants a town hall meeting setting whereby everyday Nigerians are in the crowd. He can talk to them directly. But the point is that how many of those logistically can you actually organize, and how many people can you afford to fit in a hall, and how many halls can you be? But when you do it and it's broadcast by
a good number of Nigerians were actually watching.
Yes, of course. So you reach a wider group of people who can hear your message a lot more. So I don't understand what he means by engaging directly with Nigerians, because that particular forum, to me, was a direct engagement with Nigerians. It doesn't come any more direct than the fact that you have 3 or 4 or 5 million people watching that program at a time. Maybe what he means is he wants them face to face. But face to face, how many can he accommodate at any given time? So I think it's just excuses, really. I think he's just made up his mind that he's not going to be bothered. And there's precedent for it. President Buhari didn't do debate in 2019. He talked to all of them. I think even 2015 he didn't do them either. So that was when that whole thing started. Was in 2015 when President Buhari said he's not doing and he didn't do, and his heavens didn't fall. So politicians have now realized, oh, we don't have to. If we don't do it, we can still. I mean, President Buhari didn't do it and he won election. So why should I have to do it? So I think that's it. I think he's just made up his mind that he's not interested. He would rather sell his manifesto, sell himself indirectly, because he thinks he has the attributes, he thinks he has the track record, and he has the experience, and he has the political backing with which, if he talks to the people indirectly, he can still make his point.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. Now, Governor ORTOM has given reason why he won't support Atiku. Now, according to him, he said he would not support a candidate who saw nothing wrong in the killings of innocent Benue people by headsmen. What's your take on what he said?
This PDP problem is getting worse by the day, and ORTOM is not helping matters at all. The speech that upset ORTOM, in all honesty, I read it and I didn't interpret it to be what ORTOM interpreted it to be. ORTOM has said Atiku is in support of Miyetti Allah, that Atiku is sympathetic, or that Atiku's comments have shown solidarity with the herdsmen who are killing the people of Benue, and that he, as the chief security officer of Benue and as the leader of the Benue people, cannot sit idly by and watch anybody foment agitation or foment or show support for agitation that's harmful to his people. I don't think Atiku intended that. But then again, who am I? What do I know? But I think Atiku, maybe he was poor with his choice of words, but I think what Atiku was trying to do was commiserate with the people of Benue. And I think one way or another, he was essentially trying to say we should all learn to live together. I think ORTOM is really making a mountain out of a molehill. He demanded an apology. Atiku didn't render the apology. Remember that ORTOM is one of those G5 who's opposed to Atiku's candidacy right from the beginning. So it's starting to look like this is all sour grapes from ORTOM, who is just taking his personal grievance that they didn't want Atiku as their presidential candidate, and he's now nitpicking every little issue so that he can rabble-rouse even more against Atiku, because he's now starting to sound like a broken record. Every little thing that happens, he's up there complaining, he's complaining. Meanwhile, Atiku's spokesperson has said they don't even need ORTOM to win Benue, that the people of Benue themselves don't like ORTOM, they don't respect him, they don't believe in his ability to lead them to a promised land, and that he's fallen out of favor with his people. So if he thinks that he's withdrawing his support for Atiku is going to harm Atiku's chances in Benue, he's kidding. So I would say that we need to, and ORTOM's public utterances are unbecoming of a governor. He used some language in this his last release that is not becoming of a public servant. So I think he needs to restrain himself a little bit more. It's okay to criticize, it's okay to object, it's okay to oppose a position, but we should do it with civility. At the end of the day, we are all still Nigerians, we're brothers, we're sisters. When the political process are all over, we're all going to go home together and go and break bread together. So why should we burn our bridges simply because political considerations are at the fore? So I think he should watch himself a bit.
All right, it seems like there's no end to whatever is going on in the PDP, and elections are coming extremely closer. Do you think that this would in any way affect the party come next year?
It has to, because it seems to just be an avalanche of problems every single day. Yesterday, Udom Emmanuel, governor of Akwa Ibom, who I think is the chairperson of the Atiku presidential campaign, he said they have no money, that the campaign has not been funded. So there are no rallies, there are no major, how they do all this campaign paraphernalia, they make noise, they are all in the social media, you see adverts on TV. There's none of it. They have no funds. Then, Governor of Bauchi, I think his name is Bala Mohammed, yesterday also, he also released a statement saying that he's not going to support Atiku for the presidency because Atiku is working with some of his own political enemies in his state who are against his second term bid. See, presidential candidates should be working in tandem with the governorship candidates that are going for second term, because generally when voters get to the ballot paper, they take the same party for everything. So you pick, the person you pick for presidential is the person you pick for governor, you take the same party for everything. So you would expect them to be working together so that any voter who votes for Atiku is also voting for the governorship candidate, the Senate candidate. But this guy in Bauchi is saying Atiku is collaborating with his enemies in Bauchi State, those who are against his second term. So that what will ultimately happen is they will vote for Atiku or PDP in the presidential. Then when they get to the governorship, they will vote for another party. So I think his name is Bala Mohammed. He's upset. And he said for that reason, he's not going to support Atiku. That's problem number 2. G5 with Wickedem. They went to meet somewhere again yesterday. I can't remember. I think it's out of the country again. Another meeting. That's 5 of them that are not supporting Atiku. Then you have the ORTOM problem of him now, apart from his membership in the G5, he's now making an independent fight with Atiku based on this issue in Benue. So now they say when it rains it pours. You've got all these things snowballing on Atiku's head, and you ask yourself, how much can a man take? How long will he remain standing? But to ask ourselves the honest question, will it affect his chances in next year's election? Without a doubt. Remember that PDP is in the opposition. Even when you are at par with the opposition, to unseat an incumbent takes so much effort, so much money, so much persuasion, so much winning hearts and minds. It's not an easy job. So you as an incumbent, what you want is how to strengthen yourself. You don't want to weaken yourself in any aspect. Not to not talk of all of these elements arrayed against you alone, all the ones I counted. It's too much for a party to take. I don't see how it won't affect them. So what PDP needs to do immediately is to start reconciling with all these forces. All these internal crises they have to resolve them if they want to have any hope whatsoever at the polls. If this keeps up, they won't even be third. I'm telling you, they won't be third in the presidential election if this thing happens, because each and every one of them is a detraction and a minus from additional. For some people say, what influence do the governors really have? Is it the governor that's going to determine what I do when I enter the ballot box? My ballot is secret. True. What your vote is your conscience. You vote your conscience. But the point is, your governor in your state has things he can do to support the candidate. He can promote him. He can advertise for him. He can put troops on the ground from the local councils. A governor is pivotal. He can influence the way the vote goes in his state. So all these detractions and distractions, PDP needs to address them quickly.
All right, let's talk about this one now. The United Kingdom has said it will no longer advise against travel to Abuja on threat of attack, and that the risk still remains. What do you think about this? They've been talking about it for weeks, and it seems like the federal government is just trying to allay, the fears of people on this whole threat of attack. And what exactly do you think about this situation?
I think that the threat, when it was issued, the advisory, I think it was because there was a credible threat. I mean, both the US, the UK, they have enough intelligence apparatus to where they listen to internet chatter, they listen to telephone calls, they have satellites in outer space that can view things. So I think there was a credible threat. Otherwise, they wouldn't have issued such an advisory, because it's very inconvenient to dislocate and disrupt your activities to the point that you close your embassy, you move your staff out. They wouldn't do it willy-nilly. They wouldn't do it frivolously because of something that's just speculation. For them to have issued that advisory and taken those concrete steps, it means there was a credible threat. But what the new step now tells us is that that threat has been diffused. For them to now say, okay, we canceled the travel advisory, we reopen our embassy, British Airways is now flying, remain cautious. They say the risks remain real. That's because as we are all aware, Nigeria is under terrorist threat, generally. But we had a specific threat that led to this. So that specific threat has now been neutralized, most likely by the Nigerian security forces, were either able to ward off the attack or we're able to have some counter-terrorism measures. But whatever the case is, that imminent threat and danger of that specific terrorist attack that was pending or that was thought to be coming, that threat no longer exists. So they've rolled back the advisory and said, let life go on as normal, but be cautious. Be aware and continue to keep it at the forefront of your consciousness that terrorism is rife in Nigeria and any attack could occur anywhere at any time. So go about your normal business, but be security conscious. That's what they're saying.
All right, let's take Mr. and Mrs. before we go. Mrs. is speaking to her friend, and she says, my husband just transferred the 300,000 naira with love. And Mrs. replies, says, oh, has he ever transferred any money to you without love? And her friend says, yes, anything below 150K.
Anything below 150 is without love.
Without love.
So love has a price.
It does have a price.
So Mrs. is not going to go home and tell her husband that her own price is 500,000.
Exactly.
Either that or it's not with love.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Daya Akintobi. Thank you for sharing your thought with us this morning. Also, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram. WhatsApp number is also on your screen. To find out up-to-date stories, you can go to our website, www.vanguardnjr.com, to find out more. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank you